was proposed last cycle, and yeah, one of the specs that we are willing to merge. And yep. So Sivan, thanks for joining us. Yeah, floor is yours.
Yes, maybe I can remember to everyone what this spec is about. Um, so right now, once a share network is in use, you can add a new subnet, but you can't delete them. This is especially an issue since multiple subnets have been implemented in Manila. And we use multiple subnets uh, in our infrastructure with, for example, network that have private IPs as well as other network that have public IPs. And in a context, for example, where we want to stop using public IPs with some of our products, we would like to be able to remove interface of the share servers using this subnet. And so this spec is about letting administrators remove subnet that are in use, that's to say that are used by shares potentially. So this spec introduce a new admin-only API to force delete a subnet of a share network. This is allowed, as we said previously, only if it's not the last subnet of the network, because one constraint that we have is to always keep at least one subnet in a share network. And when deleting the subnet through this API, no safety checks are done for the share that may still depend on that subnet. It's up to the administrator to use this responsibly. That's mostly the scope of this spec. I don't know if you want to describe more in detail something, or if you had a question related to the spec. Sorry, I didn't have much time to work on it recently, so didn't move very fast.
No problem. Yeah, thanks for bringing this up and for working on the spec. For the first time when I looked at it, it already like looked great, and we had a couple of discussions at the PTG. And I think for this, uh, basically all of my concerns are were addressed. So yeah, thanks for working on the things that I brought up. I think there are still there might be some uh, comments, I think, from Ashley here, which thanks for the review as well, Ashley. So, but I mean, other than that, this pack looked great, and from last cycle, it already felt like it was in a very good shape, at least in my point of view. So yeah, this is I think we is a very good candidate to merging early in the cycle or as soon as we can merge it, just because yeah, it's a good use case. And back when we introduced adding the subnet, we didn't like actually look at this and allow the force deleting or the deleting scenario. So yeah, this is a very good use case. Thanks for working on it and for thinking through the spec. Um, yeah, do you have? Are there any questions for Sylvan on the spec?
Yes. So on the current implementation of adding share network subnets on used share networks, right? So technically, You have a shared network where the shared servers have already been created, and you're as an end user adding a shared network subnet. The way it works is you have a um, you have a check operation that happens. We reach out to all of the share server backends. Backends where there are share servers, and we get back a response whether that share network can be now amended to introduce yet another subnet. And the share servers are then acted upon with the next request, which is actually do the operation. So you can't add a share network subnet without also performing a check first, because the check gives you the ability to know whether something is supported or not. So you could have a share network which has three share servers on three different backends, and one of them cannot update it. And so you're going to get back a check response that says no, you can't add a new subnet to this. Right? That's the way it works for a share network that's used.
Yes,
So I'm wondering how this works with deletion.
we did almost the same thing, but uh, for now we are calling the exact same endpoint uh, because the internals are almost the same. It's calling the same method. I don't remember exactly the name. Something like update share server interface. I don't know. That's not exactly the right name, but something that look like this.
Update shared
And
network allocations or something.
allocation. Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. And so we reused the same method, but I think it would be cleaner to have something different. Uh,
No, that
but
that sounds
uh,
okay. That seems like a nice code optimization. But I was wondering with what the administrator needs to do. Do they need to check as well, or do they need to just go? Assume that this will just work.
we did the check because in our implementation we reuse the method that relies on it, but I don't think the check is really mandatory.
I see. I
Um,
I think it makes sense to have the check in case you have a use case where you have multiple backends and you
yes,
and you don't have the.
in other use case we had also trouble with this check because we tried to introduce the use of subnet that don't have the same segmentation ID, and the check currently I think doesn't check for segmentation ID or doesn't check it properly as it relies on the fact that segmentation ID is the same for all subnets.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that
So
seems
this
like a
is some.
yeah.
Sorry, go.
No, no. So that seems like something that they never thought about, right? Until now. Um, that's a sort of thing that I meant. Like, if you start deleting subnets, you might have a similar thing where some backends may not be able to do this. Uh, and so how do you know as an administrator, even wouldn't it be frustrating for you if you did the deletion operation and nothing happened? Or maybe we did clean up the ports on Neutron, but actually the network was not removed from the backend. Um,
Yes, that's a difficult use case.
so I like the aspect of having the check and the update. That way you at least know, you get some feedback whether something is possible or not. Um, Even
Yes,
for this, and the original spec that did the add subnet stuff also had the ability to do deletion, but I think that they never got around to implementing it because they didn't have the use case for it at that time. So I think but when they did write the spec back then, they did talk about deletions the same way. So any kind of change to the network, you would first check whether everything can be done, and then you would do the operation if that check succeeded.
You're right. But what led us to issue was that as there might be a delta between the time where you call the check and the time you create a subnet. Potentially, you might call it with, but it's something that, in my opinion, wasn't designed for this. If you call it with a segmentation ID to check it with this segmentation ID, you can then create a subnet with a completely different segmentation ID, and so bypass the real check that was also supposed to check for segmentation ID.
Yeah, that sounds like a bug to me because it was probably not thought about originally.
Yes, I think.
But I like this. Thank you for working on this, and it looks like you already have some prototype code that you already figured out.
Um,
Silvan,
Sorry,
sorry.
I didn't understand
Yeah,
this
no,
was.
it was a question. It was if you had some prototype code and if you already tested how your implementation works.
Yes, we have a prototype that we used on a testing environment that works. So we could submit uh, our current code in in a peer on Manila.
Yeah, that would be useful. I think you would certainly have some feedback from Maurice. He has a lot of experience with running with DHSS true and this multi subnet stuff. Might be something that he can take a look at as well.
Yes, sure. What would be the process to do this? Create a bug on Manila, then link the pair to the bug, or
You have a blueprint already, I think, or not. I think Hyaxine asked you for a blueprint. Because this is a net new feature, we use a different feature in Launchpad called blueprints.
okay.
It just looks like a bug, but it allows you to attach as many code patches under it, so you can track the process of developing a particular a feature end to end with it.
Yes, I remember doing a blueprint for this,
Okay,
so I can
so it's
link the
probably just
pair to
missing.
the
Yeah.
blueprint. Yes, as
So
this is the first time, I'm not very familiar.
yeah, yeah, totally. Thanks for asking. So this blueprint that you had, you just would have to, move it into add a link to it in your spec, and then with your code patch, you can do an implement in the commit message, and
Okay,
it'll link it automatically to this blueprint.
okay, great.
Yeah, pretty much like you have on the spec, but you would do that even in the code patch.
Let's do this. Um, yeah, nothing to add about this topic. I don't know if there is something else.
Um, Nothing else from me. I think this looks great. The only thing that I don't see on this spec is the check ability that we just discussed. So if you want to do a rerun of your revision of your spec um, with that thought, that'd be great. Uh,
Yes, this is the tricky part of this thing. I
yeah,
think it has to be a bit more thought.
yeah, that is it from me though on this. Thanks. Oh, could you also move this spec to the Flamingo folder?
Yes, sure, I will do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't have much more to add on this. Um, yeah, but
Uh,
thanks for working on it. It's great, and for replying to the comments that we posted on the spec, and for all of the work you've been doing currently. So great. Thank you.
just a quick question come to my mind, not even related to this.
Yep.
Recently, we have been playing with the replication API, and what we have been trying to do is create a replica. Currently, we can promote replica. That's to say that you have a primary share, a secondary share that is being the target of replication, and the destination replica and source replica is reversed when you promote it. But sometimes you can have cases where for example, source share become unavailable, and we are looking forward to something that is more a cutover action that will be a way to cut the link between source and destination share and make both independent. Uh, we have been wondering whether this should be something that could be added under the promote operation, or whether this should be a completely different operation, and if this is something that you have been thinking about.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It has come up before. So you basically want to be able to have your replica become its own share, right? Stop replicating, delete everything that you have. Um, but at some point it was replicating, and then you want to just cut that connection. Um, so it would not be promotion because I think it'll look a little different, right? Because the idea of Manila's share replication is to establish a ring of replicas, sourced to multiple destinations, and then you should be able to promote back and forth, because it solves those different use cases of DR and being able to have load sharing mirrors and so on. But this use case is new, so I would think that this is something else. Um, and I think it's useful. It has come up in the past, just as a question saying, "Is this possible?" The only workaround is I mean, if you had a disaster and you lost your source share, that's okay. You're not going to set up the replication in the reverse direction. The Manila will just keep that replica around in an error state, because you've gotten access to your secondary, but your primary is still around. It's just in an error state. You can go delete it from Manila. And if you don't have any connection to the backend, we don't care. Like the replica will just be gone from Manila's perspective, and we don't expect that the mirroring will continue over there. This was like a workaround after a disaster, um, in order to make something independent and not really replicate back. Um, but I think of this use case as something that should be generalized a little bit more. Um, I think it should be applying to something beyond DR, right? Even for readable copies. So you've been writing all the data to a secondary copy, but then one fine day you realize you would like for that secondary copy to become independent. So it's almost like cloning a share at that point in time. Um, oh, I forgot. There was another workaround, I think, which is to create a snapshot and then clone that snapshot into a new share. Um, but to sever the connections would give you the same output, except you're not consuming another share. You're just using a replica and making it another share. Um, so I'm for it in terms of if we can introduce a new operation. Um, some things to keep in mind. You'll have to account for the quotas. You'll have to make sure that the replica quota is removed, but the share quota is accounted for when you're doing this sort of a thing. Um, and much else will be. I mean, it'll be an easy thing to implement, um, and useful, I think.
Yes, I think too. And this is something that we will need, so we probably will implement it anyway. So maybe we could bring it upstream, so that everyone can benefit of it.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be great. Thank you.
yeah, and I agree that this is something similar to restoring snapshots, except that it might be it might be quicker to do things this way in case you are using it as a data recovery plan, because the share is already there and already it already contains the data, especially when working with very high amount of data, talking about terabytes of data on shares, because otherwise it might take some times to restore.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know if you have other question, but that's just a use case that come around and that we would like to share.
Thanks. I have no other questions. But if you're planning to work on that, I mean, show us the design, perhaps. Like it doesn't have to be a big long specification. This seems a little simpler, so it could even be a light spec if you want to just write it up. That helps, like people brainstorming this and suggesting things.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, indeed. Great use case. Thanks for bringing this up. Yeah. Any other questions you might have, or any questions for Sivan? Cool. Yeah. So thanks for bringing this up. It's great. And yeah, looking forward to seeing the updates to the spec. We can review that and get that merged. And also, yeah, if you come to draft something on the replication, um, this new replication upload approach and the changes to the future, please let us know. And yeah, it was nice. All right. I think we are 5 minutes early in the schedule now, so we can go to the next topic, which is eventlet removal. So, yeah, Gotham, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm still trying to grok everything that we had discussed at the PTG so far on the eventlet stuff. Um, not much has changed since the last time we spoke about it in terms of what we have to do in Manila. I think the only thing we made progress on was to try to remove the monkey patching that was unnecessarily being done in the Python Manila client during the epoxy cycle. Um, we ought to remove the whiskey eventlet module. Um, that's something that I can work on for this cycle. And the other things would be to keep an eye on all the Oslo changes that are coming. Um, if you were at the eventlet room, or you will see the summary of the eventlet discussions. One of the key things was that Manila, Cinder, Nova, these services use Oslo service, and Oslo service exposes and will expose a new backend that we could migrate to, and that would be based on threading, and it would not be using the eventlet library, and that is a good positive approach. If it works in our use case, because that would be the way that I would have proceeded with the Manila share process, or the Manila scheduler process, for instance. So that's something that we might start testing during this release, um, and eventually have something merging by the G cycle. Um, at least that's a goal everywhere else. The other parts were periodic tasks. I think Neutron made some progress around this cycle. I was gonna go see, if there were some nice ideas that we could derive as well from those patch sets. But in general, I think using futurist quoted Delon, I think there were you could get this similar functionality as we had with the periodic tasks that we don't rely on Oslo today for, and if we had directly used eventlet for. um, that is something that is a small footprint in the code base. Most of our periodic tasks and other things are from Oslo. So Oslo's looping call interface moving to threading will and us moving to that interface would just solve the majority of the use cases. Um, yeah, that's the long and short of this stuff. It's more informational at this point only because I'm yet to put out any prototype code out there, and we can test it with the regression tests that are there. And informational uh, to folks that are just consuming this stuff, that um, this is a cross community effort. We're trying to get rid of the eventlet library, partially because there's a lot of changes coming in newer versions of Python that break that library often, and it does not have the same level of maintenance as what Python is capable of doing natively, as well as a whole bunch of new um, threading mechanisms and libraries that exist out there, and eventlets kind of fallen out of the you know out of favor after all of these years. If you're interested, I can actually yeah, that wiki link is a nice place to this thing, because that's where we've been throwing a lot of the content. But I am uploading the discussion s- stuff that we had for the from the eventlet room. I also have an etherpad for the same thing. And I think at least one of the eventlet room discussions must have been uploaded, but I will link both of those once they're here. I should also send out an email at the end of the PTG with the action items and stuff, but it's mostly what I recapped.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I catched only half of the discussion on the event let removal room. So thanks for that, for filling us in and sharing everything that's going on. Uh, yeah, I think Python Vanilla client is complete already, so it's one less repository for us to worry about. But yeah, there are many things to do. Um, were people agreeing with the approach with the approach that Neutron was taking uh, on, yeah, the
I think in case of Neutron, a lot of the things were specific to Neutron. But if there were in the Neutron server, right, it's a pretty heavyweight thing. So there's a lot of eventlet usage within that that is getting replaced. But Neutron also uses the process launcher, I suppose. So that is also going to rely on the Oslo service implementation. So yeah, nothing controversial yet. If anything, nobody's yet to use async IO, for instance, on anything. Um, that was an Oslo DB experiment that happened. Past cycle. We might still end up using it if it proves to be all right. I'm also looking at what the Nova team probably discussed around this. They might actually try to use it and experiment with this, because even if we don't use some aspects of the threading that happens within Oslo DB directly, we don't invoke anything specific. It comes to us part of that facade that we've added. Um, so we will be affected by it. So if Oslo DB switches to using a waitlet in the future, for instance, it's best to if we've already tested and nothing breaks.
Yep.
I think Hervé had a nice website that he created. It's called removal.eventlet.org. But if you're interested, he's been documenting many things um, from the project teams as well, and case studying stuff that's being done in Mistral and Octavia and Neutron, even at least the one in Octavia is published here. And I think Octavia was pretty good at this in the sense of from the very get-go. I think they started thinking about removing eventlet and rather than using some other libraries that turned out to be better maintained.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So, couple of it's been some time since they kind of moved, right?
Mhm.
So, really nice and encouraging. Nice website, I would say. Kudos to everybody for putting this together.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing this too. Yeah. So. For I think the heavy usage of this is in the Manila repo, right? Do we have lots of things in Manila UI, or
Not
are people
not
from Horizon?
Oh, you mean no? I wouldn't say heavy usages in Manila with this thing of I mean, we are not using Eventlet directly a lot.
Yeah,
There is I think some usage in the in creating like an SSH pool, perhaps.
yeah,
But besides, everything else is Oslo driven. And like I said, one of the locks in implementation I saw was using Eventlet directly, but everything else is using Oslo concurrency, and one of the in all the periodic tasks are using twos, or they're using what was it, the looping calls and such from from Oslo service. um, I said twos, but no, I meant locks. Locks were using twos and Oslo concurrency, and then the periodic tasks were mostly using Oslo service stuff. That's all the things that we could test with this new patch in Oslo service. I should give you a link there. Our goal would be to try to get that landed and released, so we can have like an extended period of testing for that. It's this one, and you can see a whole bunch of other related work if you're searching the tag.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah, so you can tell in Neutron there's a lot of specific eventlet usage. They import the eventlet library, not just the way we do. We monkey patch the eventlet library, and that's why we're importing it. And that's just a precursor of doing something with Oslo service.
Yeah. So by the G cycle, which means next slurp release,
Yeah,
gets us a couple of yeah, like 1 year from now, right? Kind of. But I
yeah,
mean, as soon as we can get done with it, the better. The sooner, the better. So cool. Any other thoughts or questions for Gotham? Inspur. Interesting.
yeah. And they're using it only for sleep, um, which they don't need to, right? Really,
Yeah.
it's time.sleep is very much capable of doing exactly that.
Yeah. Maybe someone can, or I can do it myself, like pull up a patch, but it's hard to touch a driver and do not have anywhere anybody hacking it.
Testing it.
Uh, yeah, exactly. So it's a simple enough change. It shouldn't be a big deal in terms of like this will break the whole driver and such. But just in case, it would be awesome to have someone testing it or at least CI.
Yeah, yeah. We'll touch upon that issue slowly, and we can try to find if the maintainers is still responsive.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. I think the next topic I can step right into is, and it might be useful um, to ask a question around if anybody is still using relying on the V1 API. Um, if you've never heard of it, it's totally fine. That just means that you've never used it. Um, but by default, if you've ever run vanilla Tempest tests, you will need the V1 API because we have a heavy amount of testing that's still testing the V1 API. So if you don't set up the V1 API, the tests don't work at all. Or something because the base class tries to create a client and send some requests directly to it. Um, so that's something that we can work on this cycle to try to uh, remove testing. V1 was deprecated in 2015, so it's about 10 years now. So it's a long time, and I think I remember in s- maybe in Rocky or something we had the opportunity to write our API ref. Before that, it was a totally different way of maintaining API docs, and we made the conscious decision not to document V1. Um, if you look at the API ref, and if you've been seeing it for the past several years or whatever, we've never had a V1 documented, uh, and that's because that was because it is a deprecated API. V2 is an extension of V1 with microversions. That's all it is. So everything that was there in V1 is available in V2 and beyond, except there's the introduction of microversions. Um, so if we stop supporting it, who's affected is the question that we need to ask really, um, because it's a pretty long deprecation cycle. I wish we could go ahead and do some code cleanup with it.
Yes, that would be ideal. I would say we should likely start with an email to the mailing list and see if there's someone desperately yelling at us saying like, please do not do that. I don't think that should be the case, honestly. But just in case, it would be nice to communicate. It's been a while since this is deprecated, as you said. So 2015. It's 10 years. It's a very long time. So yeah, I think sending the email is good, I would say. And yeah, maybe there's the thing, like it should not impact or better phrasing it better. What's the impact on our current testing? Do you have lots of things on Money Database plugin as well that are being like directed or at least checking the V1 API or
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's a good question, and that's kind of what I was finding out. There is actually quite a lot of tests that we are testing the V1 API with,
Yeah.
intentionally. I think we have V1 tests and V2 tests. We have a lot of coverage for V2, but we also intentionally test the V1 API. And to be able to do that, we create clients in the base class and we make some API calls. So if you don't have a V1 API in the cloud, our tests just refuse to run. So that's pretty bad.
Yeah, thanks. I kind of remember, or I've familiar with the V1 and V2 in Manila Tempest plugin, and I was initially that was my concern. Like as soon as we start changing this or we remove the V1 API, then there'll be side effects to Manila Tempest plugin as well. And hopefully that is only the only place that will have side effects. There might be more in other places as well, but I think that the biggest piece would be there.
So is the question here if someone is still using like a Kilo or earlier distro in their stacks, or is it still something that you can actively deploy even after that?
Sorry, you'll have to ask me again. So you're saying if someone is using Kilo or
Yeah, because you said it was deprecated in 15, and I think Kilo is or like its end of life was in 15. So is the question to operators, are you on Kilo or earlier in
no,
that
no, no.
case?
It would be literally, do you have some tooling that you have that relies on the V1 API? So technically, you all these years have configured two APIs presumably. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you've done the right thing and just allowed access to the V2 API. And the way that works is by you creating a service on Keystone, you creating endpoints on Keystone before you configure the Manila service. So if it's not there on Keystone, if you've not put it on Keystone, then you're great. You don't have to worry about this at all. But if the endpoint existed on Keystone, presumably somebody started using it, and they have some tooling that's working only with that endpoint, and so that's the part that would be that you would need to change, and that's so specific to your cloud, right? Like let's say you've written some automation scripts that hit that particular endpoint, they look for share, and then they go hit that endpoint to do some things. That script needs to change. It needs to now go see another endpoint and possibly change the APIs that it's using, because those APIs have evolved in the V2 stuff.
Okay.
So the problem with something with such a large long deprecation cycle is that we would have unintentionally left, given an opportunity to write against it.
I see. Yeah.
And in the past, I think Cinder has recommended some things that worked. These things were like tricks, where you can just basically, instead of changing your application, uh, just make sure that you're hitting the V2 API with micro version. I think it's 2.0, right? So it'll look exactly like the V1 API, no changes, because we started changing things from 2.1
Oh, yeah, I
incrementally.
see.
So you don't need to update your application. You just or you don't need to break it too much. Just make these minor changes. Still changes to your app, but
But it
if you
wouldn't affect the script that you have too much.
yeah, and maybe hold on. Actually, I don't think it even needs a change to your app. Um, so technically, don't change the service type. Expose the same service type, but put the V2 API. And if you don't send the micro version header, the API behaves like it is V2.0. Um, so you don't even need to worry about changing your app really, um, because it'll think you don't want all the changes that came in the in micro versions later. Yeah, I think so. That would be it. Like, if you want to trick your users and tell them, continue using whatever, and as a cloud, we've just decided to change something. You would just change the endpoint in Keystone, and things will look and feel exactly the same. So yeah, it's not as bad a thing. For us, it's a good code cleanup opportunity. So because we're keeping a lot of code that um, I don't know, honestly could be evolving.
So, specifically around the Tempest cleanup, do we have actual tests written out that the only thing it's testing is V1,
Yeah,
or is it like what's the word? Like the base class, like the resource setup is using
no,
V1.
we have tests that are only using V1, which is uh, it's kind of good and bad in that sense that uh, I mean we're establishing that nothing changed with that behavior at all, but we're not proving it. Uh, by just leaving that test on V1. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
There's again a lot of code cleanup in Manila Tempest plugin that we can do just because we've deleted that V1 API. So if someone is interested to do this, I can walk them through it, help them with it. But it is something that we should get done in this cycle. I mean, this should Flamingo should be the cycle we get rid of Manila, the CLI, the V1 API. It would be really nice to go into golf without these two.
Indeed.
That said, I really hope there is no OpenStack golf and we become OpenStack gopher or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I really hope that too. Um, I was thinking of ideas, like that people would come up. But I mean, I don't doubt anything after epoxy. It's like animal, 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 glue, animal. Uh, I don't know. It is just weird. But yeah, let's hope group. Yeah, so it's let's hope we have some, like the animal theme continues and we don't have anything weird coming up. But yeah, completely off topic.
Awesome. That's all I had with that.
Awesome, thank you. And we had one last topic on TechTat, which is Manila UI. And yeah, it's I think at this point is more like an informational thing. Um, but we for the past few cycles we had a couple of interns working with us on trying to close the feature gap in the Manila UI. And currently we have been tracking all of the effort in a Tiger board. Uh, but yeah, there's there is some progress on a couple of changes, and then we hope to keep closing the gaps. The features are not necessarily that easy, but at least we are trying to get some um, wireframes and some direction, at least discuss how this change should go. And the interns that have been working with us have provided us some wireframes, and they have started working on this. Maybe we should attach wireframes to the Taiga board issues, and then it's easier for us to keep track of that, and also to have the history in the future whenever, in case someone needs to drop the work on that issue, and then we need someone else to pick it up. Then I think it's easier for us to continue from where we stop it. So yeah, currently we have some interns working on the updates of replicas, also um, share uh, managing with shares, managing shares on GHSS true mode, or and also managing share servers, and a couple of other small features and features that have been available for a while, and these features are pretty much needing the updates. So there are a couple of things in progress. So for example, shares account, manage and manage for share servers, managing the shares with the JHSS true mode, share replica export locations. So all of these are have someone assigned. But still, there's a lot of work to do if you look at this. If you look at the Targa board, so yeah, hopefully we will be able to keep closing the gap, and yeah, this is something that we have been talking about for a while. But it's nice to, even if it's slow progress, there is progress. So it's nice to see the progress happening, and I just hope we can continue to make this to close the feature gap. So is there something else you'd like to add for this topic?
If we have a little bit of time, one of our interns was going to work on the limits thing, but then we realized that where we were looking was not the right spot, and it's actually like the pie chart on the like defaults page or the overview page, which is the where our plugin broke, I guess. Um, do we know where that code lives?
Yes, it is on the it's on the Horizon repo,
Ah, that's
and
Horizon. Okay.
uh, I think we should talk to the Horizon folks if the thing on that has changed. So a long time ago, I mean, not a long time, not terribly long. I think Train or something is when they made a change where they stopped allowing plugins to update limits. And I think the change was specific around, maybe the kind of the usage statistics that were coming. The APIs were differing between Nova, Cinder, Neutron, and everybody else. Um, that was not the case with Manila, but we suffered just because it was a dashboard plugin, and so they just removed the hooks that were responsible for grabbing um, the limits data. I think we still have that code in Manila UI, which still provides that limits data to whoever is hooking to it, but nobody's invoking it, right? That's why it's broken. Um, Let me show you the limits thingy if I can find it now. Uh, or not. I can try to find, and it was a very brief discussion with the Horizon folks. Because they said we're going to work on something better for the plugins in the next cycle, and I think it just didn't evolve from there. But it's worth asking if there is somebody planning to fix that, or if there is nobody, then should we volunteer to go help with it? I I see Tatiana working a lot on the limit stuff right now in Horizon. Um, oh, it might be the same patch that she was backporting to a bunch of places, but
Hmm.
she may be familiar with this. So it's in the overview tab in Horizon, project overview. This one, basically. And if you look at the history over here, you'll get to know when things changed. But yeah, we can do that outside of this call.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the other thing regarding UI is the issues using Tox run server. Is that something that Horizons is like a bug or something? I don't
Looks
remember if we.
looks like it. I think it's. I mean, must have been some dependency that changed, and I have a feeling it was discussed sometime this week, because the Watcher folks are creating a new dashboard, and they ran into pretty much all of these problems that we're running into. So we should probably catch up on what happened.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll check the Horizon Etherpad.
And it would be something. It would be really cool if we could work with Tatiana and put this back into the overview page. Really, the limit stuff, because I do think it's useful. Um, and it's an omission if we can't find a way to show everything under one single pane of glass kind of a thing.
Yep. Awesome. Any other thoughts? Cool. Taking silence as though. Thanks for the input. Yes, we can reach out to Tatiana, and I think that's a good approach. It would be nice to have this added back again. And also, yeah, we can go figure out what was the result of the discussion from the Watcher folks with Horizon, because that also impacts us, or everyone that's using the run server and trying to test with it. Um, yeah. Anything else you'd like to bring up? All right. If not, then I think this is a wrap for this PTG open topics, or all of the topics that we managed to discuss. We'll have another session tomorrow in the morning, a collab session with Nova from 13:30 UTC to 14 UTC, and we pretty much intend to talk about VirtualFS and what's next, and the testing plans for the future. So yeah, it's after that. It's supposed to end at 14 UTC, and after it we'll have the Manila Happy Hour. So it starts at 14 UTC and goes through 15 UTC. I would say grab a beer, join us. For some will be too early, for some will be late for the beer. But I think this period, like if it's too early, maybe coffee or tea. It suits better if you don't want to, like stay, be uh, drunk in the beginning of the
It's
morning.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Coffee liquor, good one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. So please join us tomorrow, and thank you very much for staying during all of the sessions of the PTG. It was nice to have all of these discussions with you, and always good to have to share this time on the PTG with you. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow at the collab session with Nova, and thanks for your participation on the PTG.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Carlos. Yes.